You guys are young. In the 80s and 90s in New York City, it was like the wild, wild west.
What? We whip your kid's ass.
Hold on, no. I'm saying he says meditation says, but fellas, we have to be careful. People got guns, can't let.
I know what he's saying though.
Because it was a lot worse in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with guns. Especially.
What do y'all think about this though? I kind of understand what he's saying. I'm assuming it's a he. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do feel like today people are more prone to settle things by shooting people. I don't know what it was like in like the 80s or the 70s. In terms of just like two dudes had a disagreement in the street. Would they fist fight or would they go to just shoot each other?
Joe, how old's your father?
54.
Did he take a gun to work with him?
Could he or would he?
What did he back in the day?
If he had to, yeah.
Yeah. My father used to take a gun to work with him, dude.
But not saying that
he has the revolver. He used to have a revolver on him at all times.
Right, but not saying that you wouldn't have it necessarily.
Different era.
Because I do believe that you have it.
No, well, when people say that,
but I mean, like, I feel like now it's a little more. Nobody want to get in a fist fight. Like nobody want to.
Nobody wants to get into a fist fight, but not because people got guns. No, it's not about that.
I'm saying I think they use the guns instead of that possibility.
No. There were more guns on the street in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in New York City.
Before Giuliani.
Before Giuliani. It was not, dude. It was the Wild West. Dude, it was ridiculous. My father used to give his foreman a gun just in case Local 3, because he was an electrical contractor, just in case Local 3 would raid the job site because he was a non-union contractor. And they'd be like, "Oh, dude, they're picketing outside. They're gonna fuck up the job." My father would just give him a gun and say, "Here, put this in your toolbox." And the guy would go to work with a gun in his toolbox.
That's right.
But if that dude got into an argument in the street,
what I'm saying is, when people say that is just not nearly as true as it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Not even close, dude. Not even close. It's not even. It was my brothers had guns on them. Everybody had a piece on them. It wasn't. It was the Wild West in New York City.
Social media, phone.
Yeah, but see, it was the Wild West for different reasons. Like, for example, like I know what you're saying, John, and that's 100% true. But like to put it in perspective, as far as like if you got into a fight, right? Back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, there was guns all over the fucking place, streets and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they weren't specifically geared towards, like, if you got a beef where you had to settle it with a dude or a group of dudes or whatever. It was knives, chains, or just straight up fist. You threw down, you fought, right? It wasn't like, oh, we got beef, so everybody's breaking out their fucking tools.
But that,
but fucking bullets are flying all over the place.
In New York, in New York City, the gun violence in New York City, the gun violence is not even close to what it was in the 70s, 80s,
era, right?
Not yet. The Koch era, it may have been not even close.
But it was for different purposes, John. It was
no,
a different.
It doesn't matter. Dude.
No, it does matter.
Well, for example, right now, I could go out tonight.
The gun violence was not due to like just beef.
But you're talking as if that didn't happen. That happened more so in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. More so. The reason why kids don't fight today is because they're just not brought up the same. They're not tough. When I was a kid, if I got into a fight and I didn't fight back, my parents would my father or my mother would kick the shit out of me because I didn't fight back. All right. Now it's
and ask questions later. That's what they do now.
Now it's let's contact the parents, let's contact the teacher. Bullying, so on and so forth. It's never about self-defense. It's not about you got to be careful. They have guns. There's been guns in the street forever, and 100 times more in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It was ridiculous. The Red Hook projects used to average 3 deaths a summer. I mean, it was not even close, dude. Not even close, especially in New York City. Now, there's cities like Chicago and Cleveland that are bad now. Baltimore is bad, but New York City is not even close to what it was. Not even close. And kids aren't fighting.
John, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree with the respect of saying that the violence, the gun violence, was just as prevalent back then, if not way more than then than even now. But
which is what I said.
But different, but for different reasons. Like right now, the gun violence is prevalent because kids nowadays, nobody knows nothing about confronting their enemy head to head.
No, yeah. With
like fists, chains, knives, whatever. Everybody just pulls out a fucking gun.
No. That's not.
We didn't do that.
No,
it happens a lot.
Not that the gun violence wasn't there, but it wasn't.
Dude, the gun violence
it wasn't. It's on not that nearly. Level
the kids aren't. Defense. The kids today aren't fighting because they're afraid of guns on the street. The kids today are fighting because they're not grown up as being taught to be defending themselves. Everything is bullying. Everything is we're going to get the teacher fired. We're going to contact the parents, so on and so forth. Okay? That's bullshit. That is true. That is exactly how that happens. That is true. Gun violence was a million times worse in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You could look it up statistically. It's not even an argument, dude. It's not even an argument.
But you know what I'm saying. I'm telling you that as far as the violence geared towards like confrontations back then was not about pulling out a gun. It was about your hands, your back, chain or knife. It wasn't about pulling out a gun.
Yeah, guys would get shot.
That's all it's about.
No, that's not true. Guys would get shot. Guys would get shot on the regular in Bensonhurst. On the regular in Bensonhurst. It's not even close, dude. There would be shootouts. It's not even close.
You know what the big difference is the law enforcement right now, right? Back in the 70s, you got arrested, you got your shit handed to you in the precinct, right? Nowadays, cops ain't scared to touch you. They won't even go near you. So that's the problem we have right now. You got a lot of kids and a lot of people going out there going, no big deal. I'm going to get caught, but I'm going to be out tomorrow. I'm going to get paroled. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. Way more guns back in the day. Way more guns. You never had give back programs in the 70s? Hell no.
All right, let's. The meditation writing waves ask a question. He says, "Let me ask: are you all going to slug it out with another man in today's world? At 46 years old, my mentality is only if it's absolutely necessary. If you're in high school, if you're in high school or you're in the neighborhood, you have to at least defend yourself." Okay, because you don't want to have the reputation of if you don't at least defend yourself, you'll never have any respect, and nobody will ever. They'll just keep coming for you, and you'll be a target. Okay?
But a lot of people now defend themselves by just shooting people.
That's not true. That's not true. No, it's not nearly as true as it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I'm telling you, it's not even close. It's not even close. Defending yourself
nowadays is life threatening. Listen.
It was a million times worse in the 70s, 80s, and 90s as far as New York City is concerned with gun violence.
Statistically,
not even close.
I understand what you're saying, John. Statistically, but I'm talking about being a realist in the streets. It wasn't like there was guns surrounding the whole environment.
You're saying it's the easy way
I'm talking about when you got a confrontation. Now it's like young kids is running up on you, sticking you up, pistol whipping and shooting you and all that bullshit.
Right. Steve, let me ask you one question. You grew up in the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
What was the Bronx like? What year were you born in?
I was born in 62. I grew up in the 70s.
Okay, let's fast forward 10, 15 years in the 70s. What was the Bronx like in the 70s?
It was crazy. It was what they call fucking Fort Apache, the OK Corral. It was crazy.
Okay, what's the Bronx like now?
A lot different.
Very nice.
Close to the same shit. It's close to the same shit.
No, it's not. Not even close.
No.
Not even
but you got to hear me out.
No.
It's not the same, but it's the same in a different way.
No, it's not the same.
Yes, it is.
What is the Bronx like now?
The Bronx is not no motherfucking haven.
It's not the suburb.
It's okay now.
It's not the
Bronx
suburbs.
is still a fucking. It's still a fucking stomping ground.
Jesus
it's
Christ.
crazy.
It's not the. When was it worse? In 1972 or 2022?
It was worse back then.
Oh, thank you. Jesus Christ.
Right,
Took me a half hour to get you out of it.
But John, listen.
But I think it's worse
John,
for different
you're
reasons.
asking me, but you're not letting me answer. I'm telling you, from a kid that grew up in the 70s, that I know what it was like back then, as opposed to what I see is like right now. And I'm telling you from firsthand experience that the
it was
Bronx,
worse then.
it might have been worse to a certain degree for different reasons back then as opposed to now. Now, the guns are so fucking prevalent where it's the kids are just so blatant with the gun activity that it's not the same. Even though gun activity was crazy back then, it's not the same as now.
Okay,
you
Steve,
can't relate if you wasn't there. And I'm trying to tell you.
In the 70s, when you were walking around in the Bronx, okay, how many buildings were burnt down to the ground?
How many buildings? It was fucked up back then.
Okay, how many buildings are burnt down to the ground in the Bronx today?
Still some, but not as many.
Come on. Don't beat me.
No. Still some, but not as many.
Yeah. How many?
But at the same time, we're not talking about burnt out buildings.
No. Yes, we are, because the community in the Bronx was fucking horrible in the 70s. Horrible. The gang violence was
but the gang activity is different than what it was back then.
The gang violence in the 1970s in the Bronx was insane. It was absolutely insane.
John, let me tell you something. I lived it. I know what I'm talking about.
I know.
I lived it. I know what I'm talking about.
I'm not much younger than you.
I know about gangs. I know about gangs and walking the streets and watching your back, because gangs were like crazy back then. But the gang activity now,
right? Okay,
it's a whole millennium difference.
Well, you walk down the street in the Bronx in 1972, right? In the South Bronx in 1972. How many buildings are burnt down to the ground in the South Bronx in 1972?
Compared to today,
the majority of them.
Okay, you walk down the South Bronx and now in 2022, how many buildings are burnt down to the ground?
Quite a few, but not as many.
Don't say quite a few, not as many. Be honest. How many buildings are burnt down to the ground? How many buildings?
But not as many.
How many buildings are burnt down to the ground in the South Bronx?
Okay, so where are you going with that though?
Because the crime was insane and the Bronx was mayhem in the 70s.
Yes, I get that, John.
Right.
But what I'm saying is,
when there is more poverty and the communities are a mess, there is more gun violence. It goes hand in hand. There was a direct correlation between poverty and violence.
Not still poverty-stricken?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a hell of a lot better.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it's a hell of a lot better.
It's a hell of a lot better, but at the same time, it's still bad to a certain degree because times have changed. John, we're not talking about 1970, 80, or 90. We're talking 2020.
Right. So my argument is it was worse then. Right.
So
my argument is it was worse then.
The degree of poverty, strickenness, and all that kind of shit has changed, and the whole multitude of how crime has changed as well.
Right. Poverty has gotten better.
It's a different demographic altogether.
You're making no sense. What does demographics have to do with it?
No, don't say that, John.
I think what he's saying is like
altogether.
Yeah, Timmy, what did he say?
The gun violence was probably worse then, right?
It wasn't probably. It wasn't probably. It was obscene. But it was obscene back then.
That shit works out today, maybe from out of even more of a left field, then you might have even known shit was going to go down. Like, not to say that it's better now. Obviously, 2022 going to be better than 1970. That's obvious. Like, if you weren't moving in that direction, we're doing something wrong. But, like, you might go outside and be like, yo, you shot somebody over that? You stepped on, did what?
You don't think that happened?
I know it happened.
No, it happened. It happened.
Like with the story where you said somebody put a gun in the toolbox in case they got raided.
Right.
Somebody might just have a gun just because they don't want to fight.
That's not the norm. It's not. That's no.
But it happens more now, I think.
No, it doesn't. No, not even close.
I think it does.
Not even close.
How
many guys do you know carry guns to work?
I work with y'all.
They may not carry
I don't know how many y'all carry.
They may not carry guns to our job,
the number is
zero.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about us, John. I'm talking about like the 16-year-olds.
Listen, the number is zero. The number of guys that carry guns to work today that we work with is zero.
I'm not talking about us.
It doesn't matter.
I'm talking about like 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds.
12-year-olds and 14-year-olds were carrying guns then too. It was much, much worse in the Bronx and in New York City in general. 1,000,000 times worse.
And anybody who says it's gangs and shit,
gangs, gun violence, poverty in general.
How many friends do you know that carried a gun to school?
When I was a kid?
Yeah.
In Brooklyn, it was
no.
No, I
said that. At my old school, they got metal detectors now.
Right now,
shit.
But I don't know if you can say none. You might know one or two.
Guys, this isn't even an argument. It's not even close. No, it's not. It's not even close.
Yes,
it's not even close. No, it's not. It's not even close. In the 70s and 80s, it was the Wild West in fucking New York City. Okay, it was not even close. Look at Times Square. Look at Times Square now.
What I'm saying to you is,
look at Times Square now.
To compare and say that
look at Times Square now.
So much better.
Hell's Kitchen was called Hell's Kitchen for a reason.
Look at Times Square now as opposed to Times Square in 1975.
You can't even get a hamburger in Hell's Kitchen for less than $50.
Yeah, exactly. They should call it Hell's Condos now. I mean, it was not. Yeah, it's not even an argument. It's not even comparable. You could walk around in New York City in any neighborhood. I could be as a white guy.
Remember the peep shows in Times Square?
As a white guy, I could walk around in Harlem right now and feel safe. I couldn't do that in 1982.
Yeah, okay.
I could not do that in 1982.
I get that. But
as a black guy,
that's not taking away the fact that crime and the whole, if you want to put it as far as saying gentrification and poverty and all that nonsense, all of that has not evolved until the new millennium. It's like, yeah, I get it. What you're saying is 100% right. It was bad as a fuck back then. And the comparison from then to now, the way you put it, like how you couldn't walk around in Harlem back then, but you could walk around Harlem now. There are more white people in Harlem than black people.
Exactly.
Right? But that's then, this is now. But that doesn't take away the fact that crime still exists. The hood still exists. Crime still exists.
I'm not saying
it's in a different demographic. So okay, yeah, back then it was because of this and that's the way it was back then. But now
how is it a different demographic?
Because just like how you couldn't walk around in Harlem in 1980, and you can walk around now. Look at that demographic. Look how the flip was. The whole flip was flipped. You can walk around now, Harlem, like you live there and you're good, right? You couldn't do that shit in the 80s.
Exactly.
You get fucked up.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
But so the same demographic applies to the violence.
You're using the
violence has evolved just like how it went from you couldn't walk around in Harlem to now it's gentrified. the same way that's flipped,
right?
So has the gun violence and the violence in general from then to now.
It's less now.
I think you mean the circumstances, right? Because it is less now.
What circumstances?
The circumstances to where you might get a gun pulled on you. Like the gun violence in general is less now. I think that's what he means, right?
Timmy, gun violence is less now, period. But if you're
I'm agreeing with you. It is less, but the circumstances to which the gun violence still exists.
What circumstances are
more random
now?
More randomness.
No, definitely not. How many more stick-up guys were back in the 70s and 80s?
You have more guns. You have more crime.
Stick-up guys, but they might not have always killed the person.
Oh, come on, Timmy.
Bad shots.
What do you mean?
Come on, that's ridiculous.
If you pull a gun out, you don't always kill them.
Same thing in 1972. If you pull a gun out, you never.
I'm saying I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that even though gun violence is down now, the circumstances where it's still prevalent is in a different circumstance. Even comparatively, but what
circumstance?
Just a random. I don't want to fight you, so I'm going to shoot.
You're going to think that happened. You're going to think that it happened.
I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that.
So then I'm right.
But what I'm saying is that you are more likely to get that now. No, even though the gun violence is low.
No, not
because people are prone to not want to fight.
No, not at all. No.
It's low. It's lower. It's lower.
Listen,
but it's not gone. It hasn't disappeared.
Here is a general rule of how violence works. I beat you down with a fist. You're going to come at me with a bat. You beat me down with a bat. I'm coming at you with a knife. You beat me down with a knife. I'm coming at you with a gun. It was the same in 1972. 10 times worse.
But I don't think that happens now.
Excuse me, because the gang violence was 100 times worse. Poverty was 100 times worse, and organized crime was 100 times worse. It wasn't. It's not even
corruption was out of control back then.
Corruption was insane.
But John, when do you hear anything about organized crime, or when you hear anything about the news about somebody get beat down with a bat?
So you know what you're making it sound like, John? You're making it sound like. Here's what you're making it sound like. Not that I don't agree with what you're saying, but you're making it sound like in today's world, what we live in right now, we're walking on easy street. Like it's all good.
You are.
No.
How many people
think so?
How many people
think that it's all good right now?
Yes. How many people had the Ring doorbell in 1972?
I don't give a fuck about all that
matters a lot. How many? It matters a lot.
That shit don't mean nothing.
Yes, it does.
You gotta live in the real world.
No, that is the real world. That is the real world.
All the cameras all over the place. Crime still exists.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Every fucking day, no matter what you got.
Steve.
What are you talking about?
You're not being reasonable here. There are cameras. You're not being reasonable. There are cameras everywhere. People have the Ring doorbell.
That don't mean shit,
yes,
Joe.
It does.
That don't mean shit.
If somebody
shit.
Excuse me.
That cameras, Ring doorbells, none of that shit means nothing.
Yes, it does.
People still commit crimes.
Stop.
Right on the camera. Like they don't give a fuck that they're being filmed. They don't care. Okay. It don't mean nothing. That's not.
It means they get caught in a heartbeat today.
What?
It means they get caught in a heartbeat today.
You think these guys that are committing these crimes give a fuck about getting caught? Because if they did, they wouldn't be committing crimes in the first place. That has nothing to do with that.
What about DNA? Did we have blood DNA? How about hair follicles DNA, sweat DNA? Did we have that in 1972? You are so much safer today. It's not even close.
I'm not saying you're not safer.
No, we're not saying you're not safer today.
But I'm saying you're still not safe. I'm not saying you're not safer.
What's the discussion?
But I'm saying you're still not safe.
No,
I think we got to go back to the original comment.
We're better off than we were 40 years ago. We're good. We're not good. Still shit is going on here like crazy.
It's never going to stop.
More evolved and more prevalent now than back then.
You are so much more safe now than in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's not even. You could, as a black man, you could walk down Bensonhurst today with your whole family, no problems whatsoever. In 1982, you couldn't do that. All right.
I don't think think we're not safe for Timmy.
I get that. I've gone out. I still think that nowadays you still have to watch your motherfucking back.
Away, though.
But nobody's saying that you don't have to watch your back. What I'm saying is the gun violence and poverty and violence in general was so much greater back then that you literally, there were neighborhoods you could not walk in.
You weren't hearing about it because people are just numb to it. Why are you going to repeat the same thing?
I think we gotta go back to the original comment so that we could like see what we're talking about. The original comment was
a difference, John.
You gotta be careful with the hands or something like that because people are quick to pull a gun. Now, I don't know, John, Steve, when y'all was growing up, when y'all was like 17, 18, when y'all got in a fist fight, would y'all be thinking in the back of your mind they might shoot you?
Yes.
The homeboy said, can't date no women from Bensonhurst. Jungle fever was real. And he's right.
He was right. Yeah. No, Timmy, it was fucking, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was always.
You thought that too?
There was always a shooter.
Like in the back of your mind, if you got in a fist fight, the dude you fist fighting might just shoot you because he was losing?
Look, stupid shit happens all the time. You never listen.
No, see,
I understand it, but I'm saying if you had a problem with somebody and you got in a fist fight with them,
that's
in the back of your mind.
People don't get shook, right? You got boys that don't get shook. I got friends that don't get shook for nothing. You can put the fire over his face. He's never gonna blink.
Timmy,
I got dudes that as soon as you raise the hand, they duck and they coming back. That's
those people, and I'm saying like those people that duck and call back. I'm not saying that we're not safe now, but what I'm saying is I think those people that duck and call back got more emboldened to just shoot instead of even just ducking and call back.
Look,
and I'm sure it happened back in the day too. It's
not even
generally speaking, right? On a complete.
That wasn't part of the culture, Timmy. That wasn't part of the culture.
That's what I think. I think that's part of the culture now.
Back in the day when you fought.
Answer my question.
Let's say you and I had beef and we fought. Me and you might have been friends and we might have even been enemies. But when we fought, say I stepped to you, you stepped to me, we fought, right? We fought physically. Even if it involved a bat or a knife or a chain or whatever, with no guns being pulled out. Right? Wait. With no guns being pulled out. And we fought. And then when that shit was done, it was done, okay? And that was the end of that. You know, there wasn't no, I'm coming to this fight with a gun. It's an OK Corral type of shit. I'm going to blast this nigga. I'm going to blow his fucking head off, and that's going to be the end of that. You know what I mean? It wasn't none of that. Nowadays, that's all it's about. Nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to throw up their hands. Nobody wants to swing a bat or a knife. Knife, But nobody wants to physically get engaged with somebody when they can just pull out a fucking weapon and blast you. That's how they get down nowadays.
So listen,
they didn't do that shit back then.
Yes,
it was around us, and it was going on for different reasons. But as far as confrontations, that's not how we got down. But to say. Not
Joe, let Joe
about the violence. Yeah, the violence was there, and that shit was real.
No, it wasn't there. It was obnoxious.
No. I'm saying not to take away from what you were saying. I'm saying that the violence was there and it was real. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about confrontations. Now it's a gunfight. Let
Joe talk. Go ahead, Joe. What are you gonna say?
You got 8 million people in New York City, right? All right. Yeah. So just think about how big New York City is, right? Something always going to happen. But statistically, think about this statistically, right? Let's just say back then, 70% of the people, 80% of people had some kind of firearm. Today, that number is less than half. Less than half. Easy. You can't get your hands on it. Not legally. I'm divorced. I can't get my shotgun rifle license because I'm divorced. So forget about, getting something the way you want to get it, or you're going to go, I'm a licensed individual. I'm professional. I'm not going to go risk my profession to go buy some heater on the street with some serial number scraped off. So statistically, you have less firearms. You have half the firearms, right? So you statistically going to have half the opportunities for something like that to happen, right? When you think about just Times Square, think about Times Square right now. You could walk around Times Square. You could strip yourself naked. Nothing's going to happen to you. Someone's going to come put a towel on you and walk your way. In the 80s,
you couldn't walk around Times Square.
Right? You couldn't walk around Times Square. I used to hang out on the West Side, Twilo, Sound Factory. We would run.
I don't disagree.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But again, I'm bringing it back to the comment.
It's a joke.
Like the comment was literally about fist fighting.
He literally just broke it down to you, though.
I'm not denying that the gun violence is lower today, or the amount of guns on the street is lower today. But the comment that homie was saying was about the fist fighting.
My whole point was that you have this tremendous, dense amount of people, and you have a far less opportunity for gun violence because those guns aren't there. You can't have gun violence without a gun, right?
Right.
I understand the mentality.
I'm not talking about gun violence.
What?
I'm not talking about gun violence.
What did you say, Joe?
According to statistics of guns killing people for guns killing people's sake, because obviously, if you have a lower pool of it, it can't be the same as what it was back in the day. I'm with you on that. Okay. But again, he's not talking about gun violence. Like he didn't say, we're talking about if I got a problem with you, right? And probably if we're really going about it, we're talking about a younger generation. We ain't talking about people even our age that got a problem and we out and we want to fight each other. We're probably talking about kids that, like you said, were the kids that didn't want to fight. They didn't want to knuckle up. That's what the comment was about. And that's where I'm coming from with it. I understand that we safer today. We got more security today. There's less guns on the street today. I get that. But I just feel like from what I'm seeing, that the circumstances of I could put my hands on this dude or I could just shoot him. I'm going to just shoot him. I don't want to put my hands on this dude.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. I don't agree at all.
Thank you.
I don't agree at all.
But I do agree that there's less guns on the street, obviously, yeah. So that's going to bring gun violence down, obviously, and we safer today, obviously. To me, the caveat is you could have a problem with somebody and they just shoot you just because they want to fight you, even though it's less guns on the street, because you don't know who has or who doesn't have a gun.
No, I don't agree with that at all. And I think
that's what his comment was alluding to. You don't know who has a gun.
No, I don't.
There could be 10 guns on a block of 100 people. You might run into the dude that got one of those 10 guns.
But yeah.
And he might not want to fight you. He might just be like, I would rather shoot you and make sure that I don't even got to feel nothing than I put my hands up and risk even getting punched in the face.
Right. No. How often do you see nowadays that that's what they do? There's nobody knuckling up no more.
The reason why,
you got a problem, motherfucker. Let's do this, right? And throw up their hands. They pulling out a fucking cat and they want to blast you. That's it.
It's not any more or less than it was back then, and it was more so back then. The reason why kids don't fist fight today is not because I could just shoot you. The reason why kids don't fist fight today is because they're not taught self-defense, and everything is bullshit. It is very true. It is very true.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's bullshit. They're not taught self-defense. Get the fuck out of here, John.
Steve,
they're not taught self-defense.
Listen, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. When I say not taught self-defense, what I mean is they don't have a father sitting them down saying, if anybody puts your hands on you, you knuckle up and you fight and you defend yourself. I don't mean taking karate, okay?
But I know what you mean.
That's what I mean, okay? Today, when kids want to get into a fight, they say it's anti-bullying and there's no bullying, and then we're going to contact the parents and we're going to contact the school and we're going to put the kid in therapy. And how is that? What am I saying that is not true? That everything I'm saying is completely
that's true, John, but that's not reality.
That is reality.
That might be. No, it's not. Get the fuck out of here. You're talking about, because nobody guiding these kids in the right direction to get them in the right mindset of defending themselves without using a weapon. That is the total most crazy shit I ever heard.
No, that is not true. That's exactly what's happening. That's happening.
When you were in school, did you get into a fight?
What?
When you were in school, did you get into a fight?
All the time.
Okay, wait, hold on. You scrap, right? What happened?
We fought.
And then what happened?
And then the next day we were cool. You know what I mean?
What did the school do? Hold on. What did the school do?
Huh?
What did the school do? What did the teachers do? What happened? Like, what was the consequence? Was like, what happened?
The school did nothing.
Oh,
exactly.
Time out. Stop right there.
The school did nothing.
All right, that's it. Stop. No. Let him finish. Let him finish his. No.
Hold on.
Steve, let him finish his point. Steve.
The school. Hold on.
Steve, I'm gonna mute you if you don't fucking stop.
But
go ahead, Joe. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Steve, the difference is today, right? The school takes you. They bring you into a room with a guidance counselor and a therapist and a violence interrupter, and you have a discussion and you have a conversation. You have a cool down period. You don't get detention. You don't get, suspended. They let you stay home for a couple of days. They have counselors come to the house and talk to you, right? And the same thing happens to the other kid. And then after 3-4 days, when they determine that it was cooled down, they bring you in the same room again and you have a conversation. You shake hands. Back then, you beat the shit out of each other, right? What happened? The teacher said, "Oh, go over there." The next day, it was like nothing happened, right? That is the difference.